Hello, this is Valerie. I just wanted to share another bit of my testimony today. So, I was also delivered from drug and sexual addiction. And if you grew up not really the best and didn't have the best circumstances, they can bring forth outcomes like that. I mean, ultimately, we choose which direction we're going to go no matter what happens in our life, but for me, growing up with a mother who told me you shouldn't buy the cow until you buy the milk or try the milk when it comes to sexuality. In other words, you should go have sex with lots of people so you're sure who it is you want to be with. And in a way, deep in my heart, I knew that sex was something that was special, saved for marriage and the safety of that. It's kind of like a fire, a passionate fire. And when a fire is burning in the safety of a firebox or a fireplace, it's wonderful. It's good. You want to get it warm and going. It's great. God's design. But when you take that fire and you throw it in a forest, it can cause a lot of damage. So is our passion when it comes to sexuality. I wanted to save myself from marriage, but for my first time, it was not something I chose to do. And so it gave me a warped, distorted perception on it. I didn't think it was something special anymore after that. And for me, being picked on a lot as a child and put down and just mocked, I had very low self-esteem and self-worth. So to me, it was like empowering someone might actually like me or accept me if I just do this with them. And so I ended up with a sexual addiction, and it was because I wanted to feel loved and cherished, and I didn't know what that really looked like. So I would just go pick up people randomly every night. I'd find a new person and be with that person. And it was definitely not a good way to be. And thankfully, I don't have any long-term health effects from it, like diseases and whatnot. But it's definitely each person that you're with, you create a soul tie with. And in the context of marriage, it's a beautiful thing because you want to be bonded with that person. You don't need other people clouding the sanctity of that, because everyone you're with, you form a connection with. You have to pray against those soul ties. But also, as a child, I reached out in the area of drugs because I figured, well, it made me feel happy for a minute. My goal was to try every single drug on the face of the planet. And I even ended up doing things I swore I never would, like slamming methamphetamines. So I was doing that for a period of time, although I never did it myself. I'd always have someone do it for me because I was so afraid of needles. And so I would try and do anything. I did acid, methamphetamines, prescription pill abuse, you name it. Whatever I could get my hands on, I did. And I couldn't imagine a life being sober. Whenever I was sober, I was miserable. And I always thought how horrible it was to be sober because I really didn't like life. And of course, I didn't know God then, so I didn't really know peace either. So that's what I did. And when I came to the Lord, I was actually slamming meth at that time. And I had gotten to that point in my life where I was either going to commit suicide or institutionalize myself because the police were knocking at my door telling me I needed to go to the mental hospital. Or I was going to try this thing I had heard about from a very kind lady. She showed me the love of God and the way she reached out to me and felt my pain that no one else saw. And when I gave my life to the Lord, it was a radical change. The drug abuse, I was living in sin. I was living with a man who's now my husband. And I realized it was wrong suddenly. I was like, hey, we can't live like this. This is wrong. I want to live right in the eyes of God. And it never bothered me before until I did that. It's like a light switch went off. Same thing with the drugs. If I did drugs again after I got saved, it wasn't the same. It was horrible, and I felt like I was being tortured. Or I'd have this great anxiety. It was not the same. It was like the Spirit of the Lord dwelling in me made it different and gave me a conviction about it, and it took away those desires. So now I went from not imagining being happy sober to hating being not sober. Like, I don't want to be out of control. I want to know what's going on. I want to be sober and in the now. Life is a beautiful thing. I can see the good in it now. I don't need to be numbed up all the time. You know, and that's where God really helped you, because you have to heal from those the pain and the wounds from other people. So I had to pray for the Lord to help me forgive those people that hurt me or harmed me or took advantage of me or whatever, for my own sake. I mean, when you hold on to unforgiveness, it's like drinking a bottle of poison and expecting the other person to die. So no wonder God says it's so important to forgive. So through forgiveness and just praying for God to cleanse me and make me pure again and take all those things, all those thoughts away, just cleanse them from my mind, it's made a huge difference. So God can deliver you from sexual addiction. He can deliver you from drugs. I have no desire to do them anymore because it's just not the same, and it's horrible, and I don't want to be not sober, and God makes me want to be sober and live this life to the fullest and just walking in the ways that He's commanded and doing things the way that He says to has brought nothing but good to my life and peace. I mean, there have been persecutional times where people won't talk to me or hang out with me because, you know, I'm not doing the same things anymore, and a lot of people don't like that. But it's nothing compared to what I've gained. Knowing that my eternity is secure, the peace in my heart I've never had before, that emptiness I was trying to fill with everything you can imagine. And just being able to feel for the first time and realize that it's okay. It's okay to have feelings, and feelings can be good. They're not inherently evil like I used to think. Feeling was a terrible thing. I couldn't stand feeling anything. I had felt so much pain and emotion through all my years growing up that I just didn't want to feel anymore. But God can heal so that you can feel. So there's a brief little bit about deliverance from sexual immorality and drug abuse. I hope that is encouraging and helpful to anyone who struggles with it. Seek the Lord. Have Him fill you. Surrender it all to Him, and the rest will just melt away, because it's never the same when you truly give your life over to the Lord, and when you live for Him, it's so much better. Never the same is a good thing when you've come from misery and pain. So, goodbye.